it was a career high, but it still took you years to have a strong enough footing so you didn't go couch surfing when you didn't have rent for your part. I love that because we've all done that. And the ups and downs were, it was gradually getting better, but it was very much ups and downs. When
Yeah.
did you begin to feel that, okay, you made it, you're going to have a career? When was that moment?
It was for a while. You're quite right that there's ups and downs. Like, it feels like everybody, yeah, and you're certainly, as a young woman these days, raised with this idea that there's a big success, and when it comes, everything is fine. After the Syria trip, I would say for the next year, things sort of developed at Al Jazeera, and I was sent off on some of the biggest stories, and I would get to go and do stories that to me, I'd grown up dreaming of getting the assignment to go to Jerusalem, to go to Afghanistan. I think whenever I got sent to Afghanistan to be a staff, like not staff, but to be like the main stringer there for Al Jazeera, that felt really, really good. But honestly, like, I didn't really feel as though I had real stability in my career until I was at PBS, and even a few years into PBS, where I was getting much, much more regular work, and where I felt like I could at least, my work was known, that I could see other journalists following me and doing some of the things that I was doing. That felt like, okay, I feel as though not only am I making a career here, but I'm making an impact in this industry. And that felt good. But it was a very long series of ups and downs to get there.
which is much more familiar, as you say, than most people realize that any journalist go to. But particularly, what's extraordinary about your book is that you jump around MENA, the Middle East and North Africa. And what I enjoyed was that you never blurred one catastrophe with another. I could always tell where you were. You painted the story very well. What were tell me the countries that really got into you, that really are so dear to you.
Yemen from the get-go was a place that was always really close to me. I think I was very grateful and touched that Yemen had reached out and become a home to me at a time when I really needed it. Like, I went to Yemen to study Arabic because I didn't know where else to go. I didn't know what to do after college. I didn't have a job. I didn't know. I had this dream, and the dream that I had to become a journalist had sort of become my home, and I couldn't go back to Northern Ireland. And so I didn't know what to do. And I went to Yemen, and Yemen just opened its arms to me. I mean, the Yemenis just could not be nicer people, in the world. And Yemen, so it was a special place that came at a special time in my life. So to go back there 10 years later to cover the famine and the war, it was meaningful to me that I could go back with a set of skills and not just some kid out of college, who was just sort of on some sort of strange adventure trying to find herself. And like, it mattered to me that I could go back and actually do something meaningful and helpful to Yemen. The 10 years later, much as it was heartbreaking to watch the country fall apart. And Lebanon too. I mean, any place that kind of opened its arms to me and became home was somewhere that got under my skin. And I still think of Beirut in some ways as home.
Wow.
And so I would say those two places. I absolutely am fascinated with Somalia. It wasn't a place where I got enough time with civilians, on the ground to really, really feel like I know it in my bones.
But Somalia is when you have that, that amazing moment where you felt so grotesque or something. I think that was the word, where you're filming a woman in bed with her child and the child dies. Yeah. And you should have a stethoscope around your neck.
Yeah. I mean, you're suddenly aware of just how invasive what you're doing is and how unhelpful to this one person it is. And I thought about that moment looking back at my career, because it was the first time that it happened. where, you know, the futility of our work feels, especially in front when you're standing and faced with another human being, felt very guilt-ridden, and you know, it just, I didn't like myself in that moment. And but of course I can rationalize it. I understand that what we do is more broadly additive, but I don't like being in hospital wards filming other people's pain. But I do it all the time.
Yes, no, and whether you're filming or writing in your notebook, or it's something that we all learn, and we know that that's what our job is, and it's hard for other people to understand that, but that's one of those moments that is an eye-opener in the book. And then there is you're finally getting into PBS, and you have your the moment that I wrote in the review saying, oh my God, when you had your facelift. You voluntarily describe what most people hide, which is,
I mean, we have to be honest, you
yeah,
know,
that was
like
wonderful.
I can't, I wanted people, you know, I wrote this book because for a number of reasons, but I wrote it also for like the young women who I could see looking at me and starting to ask me questions about my career, and I could see in their faces they thought I had it all figured out, and that it had been this great smooth ascent, and look at her career, she must be special, she must have some sort of magical quality. And I wanted them to see that I was, you know, that I had faced a lot of rejection. I had sort of made a fool of myself at times. I had, you know, almost gotten myself killed. But I also was not some great feminist, so, you know, hero. At times I was subject to the pressures. And so, and it's so funny that you mentioned it, because for all the things I've shared in this about my personal life, my love life, my childhood, it's so funny because every time I talk to a TV journalist, they're always like, I can't believe that you shared,
Yes,
you
exactly.
had a nose job. And I was like, it feels like the least terrifying thing to share, you know. And also when you look at before and after images of me on TV, it's pretty obvious, I would say. so it's pretty funny.
That's exactly why there's such authority in your book. And I'm sorry, but that's why there's authority. But yes, people write about their love life, but they don't write about their nose jobs.
Isn't that funny?
It's funny, but it's captivating at the same time.
I think also it was important, like, to the story as well. Like, it did come at a time I had been rejected for a job, and I just couldn't let it go, that I had somehow decided, and I think I was probably right, that I was not getting network jobs because I didn't have the look. And it was painful. And I think it was important to show how that pressure actually manifests in people, what we have to do.
And I start my review of you saying that you saw the correspondents of the Vietnam War as your antecedents, and I'm one of them. And what I felt so happy about is that you did not have so many setbacks simply because you're a woman.
Sure.
And that you could see how all the breakthroughs and the getting rid of all the institutional things disappeared because of, you know, what we did in Vietnam.
Yeah.
However, that didn't protect you from cultural bias about women in the Islamic states, or with that one incident when I think it was CNN who jerked you from Afghanistan because they were afraid you were in Al
Jazeera. Yeah.
Jazeera. But otherwise, it was lovely to read a book where you were just simply you.
Yeah.
And you were a woman. Yes, you're a woman. You didn't hide that, but so on and so forth. Your experience